Brady to the hot seat. So thank you for getting these pages, and we'll go through and hopefully we can either agree with them or close them out, or if there's something that needs to be changed, we should have that done. So the first one is the Vermont rental vehicle program, and this was to add a phrase or to add a group of households that includes some individual with a disability. That was something that was requested. I think it got a little bit confusing, but that approach like this was
Yes, that's the right thing.
okay. Somehow our conversation and what Brady didn't get information until afterwards, so apologize for any confusion. So this is related to VHIP apartments, and there is language in statute, so this is adding to what already exists, exiting homelessness, an immigrant refugee program, or composed of at least one individual with a disability who's eligible to receive Medicaid funded home and community-based services. So, people are okay with that now?
Yes.
Okay, good. And then we'll move on. This is a report that we have talked about, and asked for, on other occasions, and that is, we know that, fees are always an issue, and, this is asking for a fee report relative to protection to persons and property, and you want to go through this? Brady, this is something that we've done for other areas, and so this is a kind of a continuation of where fees might need to be updated or haven't been for a period of time. We have some statutory requirements, but we know sometimes the administration doesn't always propose fees. I guess we would say never proposes fee increases.
Yes, so this language is very similar to what was in Act 78 in prior years. Fee report request language has a very wide net, which led to bad data or insufficient or inactionable data. So this language sort of repeats what was similar to Act 78, where it's a limited set of departments, and rather than coordinating with finance management, it requests that these departments and agencies coordinate with joint fiscal office. So by October 15th of this calendar year, the agencies and departments for the protection of for persons and properties section of the budget would submit a draft report to JFO and work with JFO to finalize the report, and then submit that report to the appropriations committees and the House Committee on Ways and Means and the Senate Committee on Finance.
Will this be protection of persons and property? These are departments and boards and offices. I just, this isn't getting into the discussion around additional fees that get added to fines and so forth. Can someone just,
Think it would be fine.
I don't know, it says, no, but it's, no. No, it's receive appropriations in section D 200 and through 299, so it's only where the appropriations are supported in those sections by fees. So
Correct.
could you just tell us, or we can go back and I guess I can pull out my budget and look at what
But would the judiciary come under this?
that's really what I'm wondering here.
They do have fees for various.
I believe judiciary would be in the 300, or no, judiciary is in the 200s, so judiciary fees would be part of this report.
Well, but they're gonna argue
This is just an
that they
update.
shouldn't have to be part of
Mm.
the
Agencies,
joint
departments, boards,
prepared
and
draft report. They would probably argue that they should be a separate report,
Cannabis control.
knowing them.
Got it.
Knowing them, they also may say you can't require us.
because we're a separate branch of government.
But not that, I would suggest that at least we put in language
Adding branches.
that it would, the judicial branch prepares its own. Because they do have fees for lawyers, fees for this stuff and that stuff.
Great. And
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I just think we need to, that's why I'm raising it.
I think if they were to, there's fees to get records, there's fees to get this process.
So you would hope for that to be an amendment to this draft language?
Yeah,
or
I
a
think you
separate
should,
section?
because otherwise they would just argue that they.
Should, and offices, so, boards, offices, and, what,
Well, the judicial branch
The judicial
would
branch.
provide its own separate report to the. Now, they're gonna argue, they may argue, that they may not, they're just saying.
do they, and we set the fees that apply to them, so.
We're supposed to, if you remember that argument over the.
Oh, yes, I do. So can we just, separate them out because
They're a separate.
they're a separate branch of,
So,
and they're quite sensitive to that
Yeah,
for obvious reasons.
in sub A, the language would then read fiscal year 2025 fee information of the judicial branch and agencies, departments, boards, and so on that receive
Okay, that would
appropriations.
be good.
And then that language would be repeated later on.
with
On
the
the following
report,
page.
speech of the,
Okay,
from the judicial branch, there would be two reports.
recognizing we've got two branches of government. All right, any other comments about that? I just thought we better be clear on who is in this net here. And the same on like line 7, for example. So would that change? It's just sort of like, how long has it been? And what would be reasonable? And there might be fees, in fact, they're not a hardship on a, an indigent person. They might be,
Fees for public defender
uh-huh,
and the
yeah.
financial situation.
Yeah.
All kinds of fees.
All right, so the next on page 5,
So, it might be easier for the committee to look at the second section on this page first. So this is the statutory change to the crisis fuel grants.
we discussed that yesterday and checked with DCF and we got feedback that this was okay with them, so,
Madam Chair,
yes.
I'm just wondering, we're on crisis reserves.
Yes.
I'm just wondering the thinking behind allowing multiple grants.
Well,
Because,
some of the discussion we got yesterday, the reason for it is that sometimes money is left. Some people have been denied a second, grant and, there's money still left. The concern we had was, well, if you don't have limits when you start the program, are you gonna exhaust your funding? But somehow they got feedback and did you get the information, Senator Westman?
Yeah, I did, I can pull it up, and,
It gives the OEO the ability to say that there can be more than one, thinking it's at the end of the PD season, if he needs a second one, and there's federal money, and they're not thinking they're gonna get a whole
Then
bunch of
they,
new
then they would
ones.
be able to use it.
no, I get that. I'm just wondering, did they articulate a process where they would decide a second round? Is it,
All of it's case by case specific.
Yeah.
So,
because, I mean, the worry would be that it's not done fairly.
so the commissioner said is worried about this. We do not object to going, to this change. It adds flexibility to how we distribute the funds. We will want to be careful that we do not, give out more than one assistance too early in the season and use
Well,
up
that
all
was
the
our
funds
concern. Yeah, that was our
before we
concern.
have, given, as many people as possible the assistance, but we can manage this. And what has been happening according to Sue Minter from Capstone is they've left money on the table because they didn't have the flexibility to manage. So there's a recognition from the commissioner that they have to work with the CAP agencies to make that work, but they can make it.
The other thing they could be doing that they don't do this fuel thing you talk about. No benefit. And
Pretty cool. But
well, now the old guy, I have a guy that make that. Sometimes I put in him. Because he doesn't do his fuels.
yeah,
Well, we actually, I don't know when the first grant goes out.
Now, it's.
This is crisis, this is where they're out of fuel, so,
Right.
and that's handled by the community action agencies. And it's not part of the regular
Or
season
that's
benefit.
not part of it.
No, this is not part of the regular seasonal benefit, this is, I'm out of fuel, or,
It
sometimes,
will be in.
and I'm,
And,
and,
and with this, they haven't been able to give a second grant at the end of the season.
all right, so as long as they feel that my concern is that they manage to the money. And that's,
And I think there's Commissioner, recognizes that when he's,
okay. So, but this came from the community action agencies?
this came from, Capstone. And Andy and I both got the email, and, I gave the commissioner exactly what I got from them, asking for that, and the response I just read was.
I guess we would, give them the flexibility, with the understanding that the onus is on them to manage to the money.
And I would just flag for the committee, this language was copied over from a separate document just a moment ago. So the formatting here, the only thing that should be underlined in there, is the word may. The rest of it is existing statute. So the only change to statute is striking shall and adding may.
Got
The section above E324, this is just modifying language that's currently in the budget. So this is the annual standard language that relates to this program. In the second sentence of this section, it included that the crisis fuel grants authorized shall count toward the one crisis fuel grant pursuant to that section of statute. So one has been removed from language here, anticipating that there will be situations where families or households get more than one grant.
So could you explain the last sentence?
So the last sentence now reads, the crisis fuel grants authorized pursuant to this section shall count toward the crisis fuel grants pursuant to 33 VSA 16809B.
Which is down below.
So, in the normal language, this included shall count toward the one crisis fuel grant. So this removes one and it pluralizes grants, anticipating that some households may receive more than one crisis fuel grant.
So if they can, why do we have a count?
Okay.
I'm just wondering the word count in the context of the change. When you're not, doesn't count as the one.
So
So I was just wondering whether that adds anything.
if the entirety of the section could be struck,
No, the last sentence.
or sorry, yeah, the entirety of that sentence in that section.
If you wanted to, but it just seems like it doesn't have the relevancy.
Yeah.
Then when we're saying you can have more than one. It made sense when it was limited to.
Right, I will run this by the council. I think it's probably good to reference statute somewhere in the section still, just to clarify what these crisis fuel grants are. But that might be further reworded, so it's not unnecessary. So it could be something like the crisis fuel grants authorized pursuant to this section are pursuant to 33
Or
VSA.
count toward, or two grants that are. Maybe, all right, I'm just, well, I guess probably count, I mean, you've got one or two, so if they ran hot, maybe they wouldn't have the money to do it, so. Maybe we should leave it. Because there are times when you may have to count.
No.
Okay, all right. Last page. All right, this is your language, Senator Westman,
No,
Senator
this
Lyons?
is-
Yep.
This is,
This
it
is
is
how you,
appropriate the money, but,
Yeah,
Well, we-
which is brought up.
the language was much broader than we had, so.
It helps nursing homes.
you wanted, I thought you wanted $1 million for hiring incentives, which we have on the
Right.
contingency list. And this is how you want to split it up.
Right.
But I don't know what a rounding position. I've never heard that term. For medical director and rounding physician recruitment.
That means they make
That
rounds.
needs to make
No,
around.
that's what the
I've
proposal.
never heard the term rounding.
I think that's not the right term.
Well, where'd it come from?
Better than round physician.
Oh, no, I suppose.
But we don't wanna,
Want them to be fit.
I think that's what the Jaguars.
Do you
Round them up.
do you want to use half of it
The
for
horse
that?
that does a cow.
Only 500?
Jaguar
You
was on the
need
back of the wagon.
One degree
Ten
of separation
positions,
between
and what
senators
these
and
positions
legislators.
are envisioned to do is travel around to different nursing
What's in the
homes
cow?
to let people in. They can't get people through
I
the
know.
process.
All right, so you do want to have half go to,
Yep.
medical director or,
Yep.
We don't wanna use the word traveling physicians, because that has implications.
Yeah, Bobby doesn't like
No,
travelers.
nobody will know.
Charge, no,
no, but,
they gotta be
all
20.
right.
I need to sit with Grady and go through this language and maybe,
Well,
Ginny and I.
who came up with it? Grady didn't.
No, this was sent to me.
Yeah, I have,
Who came up with it?
this is, came from the nursing homes.
Okay,
Oh, well, they're not Jaguars, they're nursing.
all right.
I apologize.
We need to flesh this out a little more.
Well, I don't have any problem with it,
It's just
dividing
the
it.
language, yeah.
And maybe rounding is
I'll
perfectly
skip.
fine, and so is the rest okay in terms of how you're splitting up your $1 million?
Yeah.
The splitting up of the money is,
Grady,
Well,
is
so what do you
this
need to
code?
look at then?
this supposed to be a P?
Nothing.
Nothing,
I think the
Yes.
language is fine, right here.
even though we don't know what a rounding
The
physician
budget
is.
language is fine.
yeah, the,
Position
But-
of rounds.
They just have round physicians.
Well, we need the money, we need this tomorrow, we're closing this baby out tomorrow.
we'll get the,
It's my understanding that the dollar amounts for these one-time appropriations are acceptable with the committee's
Yes.
understanding that the language will be revised.
Or maybe it doesn't need to be revised. It may not, I don't know.
What is it on 11 and 12? What's that one?
Well, it'll be P2.
Yes, me too.
Reference, it's breaking down to 500,000.
So
Okay, which.
there are up to 3 grants will be split into that 350,000.
I would say.
And the remaining 150,000 would be for $30,000 or less grants.
And that.
That's how the 500,000 is split up.
Yes, so this is
150,
allocating programs
Uh-huh.
to help support
No, we know,
I think.
okay, so the split is right, I just wanna make sure your split is
Split is
right.
right.
What do you think? Well, all right, so obviously you see something that is of concern to you.
I-
We will give you until tomorrow at 8 AM
Perfect.
to come up with your
Get there
language.
by 7:45 and we'll be done.
All right,
sounds good.
all right, so.
Weston will bring that up.
It cannot be home run by.
All right, it's open. All right. As I said, we had some other proposed language. Now,
Yeah.
The- you do?
Yeah, about adding the shelters to the DHCD language.
Yep, it's there.
Yes. Do you have your language?
I did send it
You got it.
to Grady, but
Supporting existing.
didn't have permission to eventually.
And that language is also part of another section that will be coming before we finish tomorrow, so it might be best to hold on.
All right, yeah. And we also needed to have language that in the ARPA suite, the first 40 million, the 36, that anything that's not needed to the FEMA max would be deposited into the
Right,
trust fund created in 310. So we need that language too.
right.
And we also need the language that we have put on the funding 15,000 to fund reference pricing for state employees at NEA, which we were given, and now NEA wants to change,
I sent it to Grady.
but I'm not moving anything until it's been reviewed by by government operations, because that's their language, and so that's the only thing.
Fair
And,
implication.
and you're, well, of course it does, so, but it was obviously a priority for BSEA.
Yes.
Yes,
Madam Chair, the sentence of language that I put forward yesterday.
yeah,
I did have a conversation again with the district. They are suggesting that we take out the phrase and student relocation or accommodation. So it would be adding, including ancillary costs related to environmental assessments and
there was something, but ancillary services, which would,
ancillary costs related to environmental.
all right, so the costs have to be very related,
Yes.
but the question was how creative could people be and how big that cost could be.
So, I can read what, so let's say a grant, so, and again, this is just language about the 16 million we
No.
already.
I know, but there's language relative to the other schools, and so as yesterday's discussion was, we wanted to make sure that we were treating all the PCD impacted schools the same in terms of what they could claim as their related costs.
You mean elsewhere in what we're working on?
Yeah, there's another section.
The amendment there, in that same section, there will have to be further amendments per the committee's discussion yesterday, sort of to match the language.
Okay,
Correct.
and you're working on those?
Yes.
Okay, great. I just want to make sure we weren't forgetting.
Yeah,
So
no, we have not forgotten that. That's just,
I've got it.
You got it?
Yep.
Okay.
so we just wanted to align the two
Yeah,
sections.
makes
There was
sense.
one for Burlington and then one for the other schools, so that's what Brady's referring to. Anything else? Okay, now, one thing that I have, and as several of us got, and I can, and that is from Senator Renner, who was wanting to suggest, issues that she had that thought we should use the budget as a way of addressing them. And I can give it to you. But I, obviously, after receiving them, this is not a new issue to some of us. Right here, and that is, I asked,
That's reflected, this is the response.
I asked our joint fiscal office because it seemed like, these are really more, implement, a question of oversight, and, I don't know if anyone here from joint fiscal wants to speak to this. But I asked joint fiscal to, kind of take a look at the issues and give us some background information relative to the request, to somehow include language in the budget itself. At first, it really, the 9 million Leahy money is already, been accepted. It's a grant. And it got tied up because it has to go to the Department of Public Safety. And when we were doing dispatch, we obviously wanted to look at E911. So it requires looking at that 9 million that has to go through one department. And, so this is something that has been a topic of discussion and review, right along. I guess Senator Renner hasn't been satisfied. So, I would say the AMO is something that actually is a nexus or it's something that we did not include when we passed, the streaming tax, S-181. And so sort of this is a suggestion that, relates to a bill that is out, and then the other is the telecom communication. So I think,
I think it's thanks to the idea that CUD funds are also being spent without adequate oversight. I mean, I realize that Auditor Hopper made some comments to House Energy Environment, but I don't know if that's proof that hundreds of millions are being spent without oversight. My own CUD in Bennington, I would stand up for. They've done a terrific job of,
Are you referring to the letter or?
referring to her letter, and I'm objecting to the term.
so
that, that
So
inadequate oversight.
basically, we have obviously an area of dispute, and it's not new, and the question I have to ask is whether the budget in this committee is the right venue, to, act on these. Obviously, anything related to money could come in here if anybody had a grievance or complaint about how well it's being executed. I feel I've had the request, I'm putting forward, is the budget the right vehicle, to do this center?
And I would say absolutely not. This is it's a fraught area, and it's one that the finance committee has been working on for a long time. I don't think we should be, without testimony, in a sense, weighing in on one side of the dispute.
Seems to be almost more of an oversight and,
It's one person asking for this, it's not a committee bill that's coming.
no.
Or a bill from the committees.
So I'm just saying at this point, it seems like in light of the information along, the history around the money and so forth, that, we certainly don't want to feel in any way, but people have different opinion. And, is the budget the right venue, to deliberate this? And so, I'm gonna set, Senator Ruth and I have to go to a 4:15 meeting. So at this point, unless someone feels that this is something we should do in this context, I'm gonna adjourn the meeting for today, because Senator Ruth and I have to go to a different meeting.
Can I ask you a question?